Hello BookTube. Today on my 2023 library tour, I will be finishing up this bookcase behind me. It was built by my grandfather almost 30 years ago and is on top of another bookcase. So this is the first part of the history wall. So let's get going. First up is one of my favorite books of all time, Big Wonderful Thing, A History of Texas by Stephen Harrigan. This is history as it should be written. It is just brilliant and humorous and just really great. This book really got me into history and 2020. I saw it, I think Steve Donahue hauled it in 2019 and I really wanted it. And it took me some time before I finally got it. But when I did and I read it, I loved it. And can't wait to reread it. Next is another really good book that I read years ago before I picked this up. It is Invisible Armies, an epic history of guerrilla warfare from ancient times to the present by Max Boot. This is really good. I think I read it in like a day or two several years ago, and I'm really looking forward to rereading it again. Next is another really great book. These Truths of the History of the United States by Joe Lepore. Um, this is a fantastic, humorous history. Well, I don't really think it was humorous all that much. It's been a while since I read it. It was like in 2020. But I really enjoyed it when I read it. And I really would love to reread it. I can't wait. Next is another great book, The Napoleonic Wars, A Global History by Alexander Mikaberidze. So this is a history of the Napoleonic Wars from a global perspective, from the war not only in Europe but also in the Americas, in Asia, in Africa, and it is brilliant. I loved it. Next is a book that I did not, or I haven't read yet, and that is Great Civilizations of Ancient Africa by Lester Brooks, which I really need to get to. I picked it up from the Friends of the Library ages ago. Another book I picked up from the Friends of the Library book sale is Wind in the Tower, Mao Zedong and the Chinese Revolution 1949 to 1975 by Han Suyin. This is a sympathetic history or reportage, really, of the early years of the People's Republic of China. I really didn't care for it when I read it about going on 2 years ago. It's a little too loving. Next is America Bewitched, the story of witchcraft after Salem by Owen Davies. Owen Davies is an expert in the history of magic and witchcraft, and this is a book that looks at witchcraft in the United States in a more sort of folkloric tradition. But it is fascinating. I've mentioned a few times that I am a huge fan of fantasy and aspire to write fantasy. And one of my areas of interest in history is the history of magic and witchcraft, because that would, I think, better inform sort of my creation of magical systems in my own writing. But anyway, so yeah, so America Bewitched is really good. Um, Next is another great book, Island Stories, Britain and Its History in the Age of Brexit by David Reynolds. This is, if I remember, rather humorous. It was a blast to read. I really cannot wait to get back to it and reread it. But there are so many other books I need to read for the first time before I can do a reread. Another great book is A History of the Ancient Near East by Mark van der Meerup. This is one of the first books I ever read on the history of the ancient Near East, and it is a favorite of mine. Why I picked it up a few years ago, and looking forward to getting back to it. Another book I really enjoyed is The First World War by John Keegan, which I picked up from St. Edward's University. I don't remember if it was a book sale or just like a book giveaway. I don't really remember. Because what they did was, I don't remember if it was a yearly thing or if it was just the one time. But they, for a few days, the library rolled out carts of books that they either de-accessed or I guess in this case somebody donated and offered up for either free or for very little money. And I picked up a few, and this was one of them. Another book I really enjoyed is Fire and Blood, The European Civil War, 1914 to 1945 by Enzo Traverso. I think this is in translation. Yeah, translated by David Fernbach. This is a difficult read, but oh, was it rewarding. Oh, was it rewarding. So the last three books on this shelf I have not read yet. The Slavs in European History and Civilization by Francis Dvornik, which I picked up from the Friends of the Library book sale. Oh, maybe the last time I went, which would have been in 2019. I also picked up Medieval Warfare, Triumph and Domination in the Wars of the Middle Ages by Peter Reed. And the last book on the shelf is The Rise and Fall of Maya Civilization by J. Eric S. Thompson. So that concludes that particular bookcase. Tomorrow I will start on the bookcase that is under it. I don't know necessarily if I will stick with, well, I guess before I sign off, I can go ahead and check and see how it would work. Yeah, I might be able to do at least this top bookcase. Although, maybe I could also bring out my chair. I might do that instead. Anyway, I'll figure it out, and we'll see if it's either in this position tomorrow or if my computer is in a different position. I film on my computer. So anyway, BookTube, I will probably have up a tag video in a few minutes while I'm uploading this video. I might have another go at that discussion video I want to do. It is giving me some trouble. But anyway, we shall see. So, any BookTube until I see you next time. Thank you. Have a great afternoon and stay safe.